Welcome, Nikki.
Woohoo!
Woohoo, we are having fun. That's the intention that we set for today. And actually, I'm sort of acknowledging that this wasn't an easy journey certainly for you. And we almost paused as I just put something into, on LinkedIn. We can talk about that in a moment. But I'm so grateful that you are here with me rather than having to cancel and pausing and doing it another time. So it's a real pleasure and honor to have you on this audacious conversation, LinkedIn Live. And for me, the intention is definitely have fun, but also to explore this concept of audacity in under those three pillars of courage, care, and nonconformity that you and I very briefly talked about. But before we dive into that, I'd love to know, you to introduce yourself with maybe something audacious.
Ooh, great question. Before I do that, I'm frozen on the video. Am I frozen for you?
No.
Oh,
You're good.
perfect. Okay, that's even better because now I don't have to look at myself talking. So yeah, I'll tell you a little bit about me. So I'm Nikki. I am the founder of Coach to Growth, which I've been a founder of for 2.5 years now. Prior to that, I've got an extensive corporate background in companies like Apple and Nike. I've always worked for values-driven people because one of my top values is human connection. I love to have fun. I love to connect with people. I love to build trust and care deeply, which is great that it's one of your three pillars. And I'm now on a mission to make 100,000 people happier, and not happier by material things or moments of joy, although joy is really important. It's like truly inwardly happy, and inner peace is fully present, that you're just okay to be with life no matter what it is. And I love what I do. I absolutely love it. To answer your question, what would be an audacious way to introduce myself? Humility is important for me, but I would say what feels audacious is I am one of the best at what I do and feel blessed to call it my job.
Oh, wow. That feels audacious. And I'd love to even just go there. You being the best at what you do. So tell me more, maybe just diving into that with courage as to, being the best at what you do. How do you do that?
Do you know what's really interesting as you're saying that? I can feel one of the best, Alina, one of the best. I didn't say the best. So I can feel myself wanting to, let's calm that down a little bit. So courageous, let's be courageous with it. I care so deeply about what I do and the clients that I work with, and the journey that I've been on, and the people that naturally gravitate to me are people like myself. I had a real blind spot that I was addicted to work and addicted to achievement, and felt good enough when I achieved. And I've understood where that came from and totally rewired my brain to understand that I am good enough regardless of titles, money, success. I would have my boss come to me and say, Nikki, you've just achieved this award, or we've just won this, or we've just, you've been nominated as this. And I would say, great, what's next? And I remember him saying to me, did you not hear what I've just said? And I would be like, aha, but what's next?
Oh, Nikki, now you have definitely frozen. So I think it's you were freezing. Okay, so we have lost Nikki. I think that's sort of audacious Nikki as she was talking to me. I am still live. I'd love to see whether she's coming back in. If not, we will play. So actually, one of the other things I'm realizing as I'm talking to myself on this screen as she's coming back in, hopefully, is that I don't have any comments coming through, and I didn't have that last time when I was speaking to Mandy. So I'm just going to tell a story while waiting for Nikki, and if not, we've just got half or tiny winning of her story. But Nikki and I almost didn't go live today because she had a call just a few hours before about her son who just had a little accident. So she wasn't sure how serious it was and whether she had to go to the hospital. So it was 4 o'clock now, 5 minutes past 4. And we just said, okay, well, let's just see what happens. And then if we have to cancel, we have to cancel effectively. And therefore, the universe, as I always say, it's always testing me, my muscle of adaptability, as well as us, given that we almost didn't make it. And now she's fallen through. So I'm sort of checking as I speak live to you. And then hopefully we can get her back on. And as I said, I'm not really, at the moment, I cannot see on my screen if any of you are there. So I'm checking live. Okay, so Michael is saying to me, he's listening. Fabulous. I am actually only able to see it on my phone. And here we go. Nikki, you tested me to the limit as I've been talking to myself. This is going to be probably one of the best LinkedIn lives we've had so far. There is no engagement. I am not able to see anybody from, although people are live, so I can just see Michael say I'm listening. And I was just talking to myself. I actually just gave a little window into the fact that you and I almost cancelled today. And, you know, I don't believe in, well, there's sort of the serendipity. And I thought, oh, you know, what's the universe saying? We almost cancelled. And now you cancelled because somehow
I got kicked out.
You got kicked out. We got kicked out. The joys of tech. Finally, we also got, I can also see it. So you see, when we energy of attraction, I can now also see what's happening in the chat. So Jodie, thank you so much. Indeed, the joys of tech and the joys of actually staying with it, you know, when you test it.
Staying calm, right?
And means like telling a story, and then I will have to say goodbye if nobody's here, because I wasn't sure who's here. I thought I could just talk to myself. But it's interesting, as you could feel it as you were freezing, and I couldn't. But then your tech was slightly going to, you know, I could see you almost fading away. So let's go back to where we left it.
Yes. Okay. So what I was explaining, if you could hear me, was I used to be addicted to achievement and work, and it was a total blind spot because I was happy, but I wasn't truly inwardly happy. And I went on a journey of understanding who I was without anything, without being a mum, without being a wife, without being whatever title I was at the time. Who is Nikki? And how do I fall in love with Nikki? And then build from there. And then what's the legacy I want to create? What brings me fulfillment? What brings me joy? How do I stay present? And then that's where the business came from. And going back to one of your pillars of non-conforming, have found another way. You know, I was conditioned to believe, and my dad was a total workaholic as well, that if you work hard, and working hard doesn't mean smart, it means smart and long. You will get everything that you want. And that is true, right? If you work longer than the average person, you're going to reap more results. However, I found a way, non-conforming, that you can actually have it all. So you can be really present with life. You can be truly inwardly happy, and you can achieve the most success. And success is individual to everybody. Like how I define success in my 20s is very different to how I define it in my late 30s, early 40s. But you can have it all, and it comes through balance. I do believe there is a balance, and it's not always equal all the time, but you can have a balance of work and doing work that truly you love and brings you fulfillment. Rest, and that is macro rest and micro rest, allowing your body and your mind and your soul to recharge. And then play, and that's those areas that bring you joy. And there should be pockets of that every day, and they're not all unequal. Some days joy will be higher, some days rest will be higher, some days work will be, but they should all be present for moments of time every day. And that is what is audacious for what I teach, because a lot of people are too scared to take that jump because they've only ever known it another way. So what if I stop doing what I do, and the achievement goes away, or the success? But when you're unattached to your identity, to being addicted to achieving, and you're willing to be courageous and try another way, my goodness, the world just feels amazing. It feels brighter, it feels lighter. You put yourself out to fail more because there's a gift in failure. I could talk about this all day, Alina, so I'm going to pause.
No, but I mean, absolutely. And even we've role modeled it, I suppose, in terms of, you know, it's no failure, it's experimentation, you know,
Yes.
even for the moments of 2 minutes of, you know, who knows, we'll go wherever we need to go. But it's easy for you and I to actually debate about this, because a lot of my clients, I'm sure a lot of yours who are in the corporate world, and I think you literally left as you were talking about your boss saying, you know, this, and you were just, you achieved this, and he would say, what about the next thing? And so it's constantly on that will of achievement.
Yes.
And a lot of the people in the corporate world, they still feel, you know, they need to conform certain rules and regulations, and for them, they almost feel there is no choice in many of the many ways, certainly from some of the conversations. So I'm curious, because I totally agree with you. My, you know, non-conforming way of explaining it is that you can have it all, but not at the same time.
Ooh.
In a different way. So you have to constantly trade off. And, you know, talking about the you know, being present is one thing, but the way I look at it is family, it's friends, and it's career. And you have to trade off at times, you know, more time with work, more time with family, especially on daily, weekly, you know, in a longer term. Yes, it will even out, and it will be in an equilibrium, but at any one point you have to make some trade-offs. And so I'm curious, and I know they're sort of similar but different in a way, but how someone in the corporate world who's listening to us, you know, they will think is like, yeah, it's easy for you to say, you know, you've sort of escaped that world, sort of now in this not for me.
No. Okay. And it's interesting because where my mind's going to is I'm like, tell me more, because I do believe you can have it all without trading off. That was my old belief, is that okay, well, I've got this great career, I've got an amazing son. So what I would trade off is connection time with friends. I'd be too tired, right? So I'd be like, oh, there's this coming up, but I've got a busy week next week, so I'm just going to pass on this week, but I'll make sure I'm at the next event. And I honestly do not believe you do have to trade it off anymore. And actually, the book that I would recommend to read in this moment is The Big Leap, where actually the principle of that book is it's self-sabotage and limiting beliefs to believe that you can't have it all the time. And there's a deeper understanding of where that comes from. But what I do hear from you there is, you know, if we look at a micro of a day or a week, then that day you may be in a sprint of like a big deadline that's coming up. So you may not be able to finish work at 5 p.m. and have all the family time. But if you were to really be honest with yourself, everything in life is a choice. So you're choosing to stay late, or you're choosing to choose family, or you're choosing not to prioritize self-care, which I know we'll come on to because it's a topic that you and I are both very passionate about. And it's acknowledging that I'm create freedom from that place of I'm choosing to prioritize work again today, or this deadline over other areas of my life, or I'm choosing to do it differently. So I'm curious, Alina, if I can put this back to a conversation with you, is why do you not believe you can have it all at once and you have to have a trade-off?
But it's the same, in a way, it's a different languaging. I'm fascinated by the way we just, you know, we sort of look at the same thing, but we're languaging it differently. Because what you were saying is I'm choosing, if I'm, you know, I'm choosing to stay over at 5 o'clock and not have the dinner.
Yeah.
And to me, that choice in that moment, it's the trade-off. Yeah. So it's the way I language it is like, in this moment, it's a deliberate, you know, conscious decision almost, or choice to stay over at 5 o'clock and therefore trade off the time, because you know, there will be moments like this. And overall, yes, I think we're all aiming to have some sort of balance and equilibrium, but there will be moments where we have to say, where do I go in this particular moment?
Yeah, no, so true. And I think for me, if I was sitting in front of somebody from the corporate world, because again, I attract the people that were most like me, and often it's a subconscious choice or a pattern or a behavior that, you know, I was actually talking with someone, it was on someone's LinkedIn post earlier today, and they put a post up to say, I once took a call while I was bathing my newborn baby. And it brought me back to a memory where I was in a soft play one time, sliding down a slide with the phone, it was before AirPods, balanced on my ear, because I believed that I had to be on that call in that moment because it was important. But there is a subconscious belief there that, like, I have to be there. Either I'm the most important, or am I being control in there, or am I going to miss out? So I'm choosing to be there as well. So is it that it's just old patterns creeping in, that if I didn't attend this meeting, or I didn't meet the deadline today, and I traded off family, that I may fail? Or there's so many different ends to that sentence where, for me now, yes, you could believe I'm out the corporate world, so are you. But actually, as an entrepreneur, there's different challenges that come, right? You don't have the safety of different things that you get in the corporate world. But for me, where I've redefined success and redefined life, I trust that it's all going to come to me. And I still work hard, and I work really intentionally. But I also know that if I trade off and continuously work hard and long, then I'm not at my best for any version of me. And actually allowing space to be creative, allowing space to be in nature, allowing space to be truly present as mom, or just as Nicky, is where actually I can accelerate my performance even harder. And my identity isn't attached to it either. And this is what I see, because I also help athletes as well. A lot of athletes, their performance is attached to their identity. And when we detach those two things, we actually can care more and perform higher when we're unattached.
Yeah, and I love that. You and I could talk about that, for a long time, this concept of attachment, actually. So, and then you were talking about the acknowledgement. So those are sort of almost, there are two chapters. One is acknowledgement, my 8 A's, but the other one, which is the attachment, it's in the adaptabilities. When you don't attach, when you detach from the outcome and enjoy that process, or enjoy that journey effectively. And it's interesting, you're talking about the the Big Leap as a book. What's coming to me in this moment is the book by Franz Johansson called The Click Moment.
Yeah.
And then the way he defines success, of course there is hard work and perseverance and all the conventional definition of success. However, he introduces this non-conventional concept of randomness to success.
Yes.
Me, and I actually mentioned it to someone else on a different podcast, that because it's so live for me, as I've just finished that book. And it's not, he calls it randomness, and it's the languaging part. For me, it's this serendipitous moment, which is not serendipitous, if that makes sense. It's a paradox in its own right. But when we have the space, when we are detached, we're so much more likely to attract the things that we desire. And that's the click moment, because somehow you think, how did they, end up just calling me? Or how did I just, met this person on the plane? There was all of these unexplainable moments, but somehow we're open, open-hearted and open-minded to them.
Yeah, 100%. And now you're consciously aware of it, whereas before, maybe corporate Alina would be like, it just happened. It was lucky. That would be a word I would use. Oh, I was lucky today. Whereas it's not lucky, it's intentional when you create space. And even when we create space for our mind to really think as well, like, for me, the shower is a really great place if I want to get creative, or, when you're away I know when I was away on vacation or holiday, when I was in the corporate world, so much great ideas would come to me from a strategic space, because you're allowing your brain to rest and pause, that it can then show you a whole nother path that you can be on. And imagine building a life where that's intentional every day. Going for a walk, but how often do we see people going for a walk on their phone or with headphones in? Go for a walk just detached from life and just be present and watch what happens internally, what opens up.
Yeah, no, I love that. And actually, for me, I have struggled a lot with this concept of creating space. In a way, just let it be, rather than just have an intention to it. And that's a work in progress for me. And I know for a lot of my clients, this idea of just let it be, let it flow. Go for a walk, but without listening to a podcast, or without that. I do create the space, but there is something to it. There is something that goes with it. Usually I make a call, I listen to something. So there is an intentionality. So fascinating.
Maybe that's the audacious part already for you, Alina, tomorrow. The challenge we're setting Alina is to go for a walk with no tech. You can't even take it with you.
Well, yeah, and I'm going to Transylvania, to Romania on Wednesday for our 4th retreat, and so that I'm thinking, how am I going to build that in it? But yes, I'm traveling on Wednesday, so maybe it's totally detached from anything.
I'm excited to hear how you get on.
Yeah, that's a great audacious task to to set. But I know we've touched on this concept of self-care, which you and I are really passionate about, and that's part of, I was telling in the little story that we just didn't know I didn't say that you might have had to make a trade-off, interestingly, or a choice, whether you went with your son to hospital or whether you came here with me. But care, how does that fit into your story and the way you work with your clients?
It's a really beautiful, I know we talked about it very briefly earlier today. This is still a challenge for me that I have to consciously keep top of the agenda. And I wonder whether there is something from a woman's perspective as well, especially as we're in this new world of we are mums, but we're also entrepreneurs or business women, and we try and be all things to all people. And for me, I noticed that when work gets busier, life gets busier, the first thing that I'll drop is my self-care, or I have in the past. And I've set an intention this year. Last year I was better at it, but this year I've set an intention that is the last thing to drop. Actually, everything will drop, obviously, without being too catastrophic there, because it would depend on the event. But why is it that I would choose to put work admin, for example, above taking care of myself in whatever capacity that looks like? And really, I time box my day again through work, rest, and play. But why would the first thing I do take out me time if should I need to, right? So it's a real conscious choice for me now. What else could I trade off, using your language, if those days come that there does need to be a trade-off, that it isn't always me? Because for me, I really know that I'm at my best for everything and everyone when my self-care is consistent. And self-care for me, I've gone on a real journey of understanding what works for me and what doesn't. And I don't believe there's a one size fits all. And I'm really conscious with my clients to help them understand what does self-care mean for them. Like I don't take life seriously at all. So I love self-care. For me looks like being in touch with my inner child and being silly, and whatever the context that looks like. It looks like rest. It looks like just sitting with myself quietly or walking detached. It looks like exercise. It looks like being grateful and spending time in journaling what I'm grateful for. There's so many different aspects to it, which again, I've gone on a journey of what do I love and what do I not love, and how every day am I intentional about it. But it is still a work in progress for me to say I've gone through a whole year of prioritizing my self-care. But the way it helps me is to know that I'm a better mom, better coach, better leader, better friend, better person in all capacity when that is always there.
Yes, and I think, it really resonates, and I really relate to it, because when you care, especially when you are a high achiever or covering high achiever, as Mandy would say, we care so much about the mission.
Yes.
And to me personally, I care so much about others, interestingly.
Yeah.
So if I had to do the trade-off, I will trade off self for others. So others, for me, comes before self, caring for yourself. And it's an interesting lack of balance, if I can call it. And sort of my own coach really challenged me recently on that, is when I overcare and I overgive to others, I create an imbalance. And that's not healthy.
No.
So in a way, it's being so deliberate about how do I care about self, as well as others, as well as the mission.
It's really beautiful, actually. And I know we've talked last time I was in London about this. And something I heard about 6 months ago is every time you don't take care of yourself, you break trust with your inner self as well. And that really landed with me, because the same way if you don't do what you say you're going to do for a friend or for a family member, and they start to distrust in your actions or your words, depending on what it is, that happens with ourselves internally. So if you say you're going to be kind to yourself and take care of yourself, and you might commit to doing exercise, or, you know, going for a walk or meditation or a spa day, and you never do it, then your own inner self starts to break trust and disconnects from you a little bit from a love perspective. And that really hit me deeply of, if trust is my top value, and if I don't even have internal self-trust, how can I expect to create that with others? And that's really kept me true to this mission that I'm on for self-care.
Oh, I love that, because you're actually going even a bit, you know, and I've never heard that perspective, but going a bit deeper, you know, the self-trust, which is a self-love, which is a big word. But if you don't have that, then, you know, then the self-confidence will go. And there is a lot of collateral damage that comes with it, interestingly.
100%. 100%.
It's a good way to look at it. But so, I mean, talking about, just very briefly, I realize we've got, what, four minutes left. But what's your, well, two questions, you know, rather than, what's your audacious missions? You know, the audacious mission that you've still got for the foreseeable future. And then where would our listeners find you?
Yes. Okay. Great questions. My audacious mission, and actually, so my mission originally 2 years ago was to make 100,000 people happier, and I talked about that at the beginning. I need to up that, because I'm close to that number, and I honestly believe 2 years ago when I started this, I wouldn't get close to it. And I'm very proud to say that I am, and I need to make an even bigger audacious number. So this LinkedIn Live is making that a priority for me to do that. But interestingly, what's coming to me is there's a lot of work around female and in the sporting world at the moment. So my clients in a corporate space are both men, women in C-suite roles or business owners. Whereas in the sports world, I'm being pulled and moved into this beautiful space of creating equality and legacy around female sport. So there is another audacious, for me to be able to say, one, I've made this many people happier, whatever that new number is going to be, and to be able to say I've made an impact in female equality in sport, doing it in a healthy, happy way. Wow, what a way to say. I feel proud every day. And then how do people find me? Well, there's loads of stuff getting revamped at the moment. So the best way is on here. So my name is Nicky Brown, and I am Coach to Growth, the founder of, like I talked about at the beginning. So the best way to get in touch at the moment is through LinkedIn.
Fabulous. And actually reminding me, we were talking very briefly about Mo Godad, because he's on that big mission about
1 billion.
1 billion people happy. So, you know, I think hopefully maybe we can set that audacious goal. So you have energy, you bring the masculine energy of the 1 billion, and you bring yours. And why not? There's enough.
Why not? It would be a privilege to actually work alongside him one day. There you go. There's an audacious mission. And Alina, I want to ask you that same question. What would be audacious for you to say or ask of the audience watching this today, or of your network, or of my network?
Oh, wow. You're putting me on the spot. What would be audacious to ask for? I mean, for me, it's interesting, you know, my mission this year is definitely my book. So I think what would be really audacious is to ask the listeners to pre-book that, pre-order it, because it's already on Amazon UK. It will come out on the 22nd of August. And I put it already, I think at the weekend, I put it onto my signature on LinkedIn. So it's there, you know, so I'm proud of that. So that's probably a big audacious ask for people to take that, you know, leap of faith or trust, as you said, without, you know, as I'm talking about it, but you know, it's not out yet. But as I was talking about, something else came up, and that is I've set a YouTube account called, you know, where I'm putting all of this, you know, audacious conversations. So it's like a storage little place where you know, they're all available here on LinkedIn, but they also, and that feels really audacious and almost uncomfortable. It's my social media person said, you must do it, Alina. So it's there. So it'll be my invitation to subscribe to that channel. and watch.
I will
all.
support that by subscribing. Maybe you can support us by putting the links to both your book and your YouTube in the comments of this, and I've already pre-ordered the book, but I will subscribe to your YouTube. Easy.
Oh, Nicky, I have lost you again. It's interesting, you know. We sort of play. Oh, you. I know. It's like you're back here. Okay, fabulous. I was, you know, as you were saying, it's like you're now challenging me even more. Is I have no idea how to do that. I can't do it in the chat here, but what I'll do is in the chat once this live is finished, I could do it into the chat of this, you know, on LinkedIn. That I know how to do. So yes. I certainly will do that. Fabulous. That's a great idea, and that's sort of really audacious. But I think we are, you know, at time, which is unusual for me, even with all of the distractions.
Yeah, we just finish by saying the tech has been audacious today. Never in any other interview or anything, but with us, but we both stayed so calm and composed because it's all good.
It's all good. And actually, I think it is as mums, you know, you were really challenged with your son. I was also really challenged with my son on that level. And it's like, whew, being able to breathe almost and then stay unfazed by what the tech has done to us with all of these interruptions. Actually, I'm finishing off with saying this is the story of my life, you know, for 20-something years of being sometimes interrupted. And now it's the tech who's interrupted us. But hey ho, we just carry on.
We made it.
Fabulous.
So much love for you.
Thank you. And thank you so much for being here and making it. So I'm going to say goodbye to everybody who's joined us. And we'll thank you for being here, Nicky, and for everybody else.
Thank you for inviting me. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.